Hey YouTube, good morning. It's Sonia, Profiling Manipulation. So we're back with another video, and this is going to be part two to ignoring a narcissist on social media. Okay, so we've got the first part of this up, and I just felt like there was a few points that I could elaborate on or go over just to make this clearer, or so that it can be understood better. All right, so I'm just going to go through these comments, these notes. They were actually notes, but I posted it as a post because I thought it did sound kind of okay, and it'd just be easier for me to find, to come back to go over. So here we go. Right, ignoring a narcissist on social media. So if we go back to the first video, we've gone through understanding the nature of the narcissist, understanding our own nature. We've got a bit of a brief understanding of our ego and the self side of us. So it's usually the ego that's trying to respond to incoming psychological attacks. We tend to respond from the ego side because we get emotional, all right, when we hear things said about us that we don't like. I'm going to try and include in this that I was supposed to include in the first one, but it started to get, hey Sky, it started to get on like it was going on too long, so I didn't bother to put it in. But what I was going to do was show you an example of people talking about me, not saying nice things, criticism. So I was going to use that as an example to show you how you can manage that in a real life situation, all right? Because it's easy me saying it, but sometimes it's seeing it or seeing how it's done. Then you've got a template, and you know what the aim is, or what the goal is supposed to be, or what it's supposed, the finished picture is supposed to look like. So they're going to want you in your emotional brain. So as I just said, an incoming psychological attack, when people are saying things, calling your names, telling lies about you, saying things that you haven't done, it is triggering. And each of us, as I said in the first video, needs to understand our own reason for why that bothers us. And that's personal to each of us. So if we use my reason why it bothered me, and my explanation of why it would trigger me when I would hear people talking about me, that was something that went back to childhood and not being believed, or my mum possibly believing lies about me and I'm trying to tell her it's not true. You know, like if my sister's telling my mum lies and I'd be like, no, that isn't how it happened, that isn't how it happened. And as I've said to you, like, narcissistic personalities can tell lies better than we can tell the truth. So I've had a lot of experiences in my life where I wasn't believed, right? Or my mum was believing lies that were being said about me by one of my siblings. So obviously, if we look at that as these people being me and my siblings as being children, you can understand why that would be upsetting. It would be upsetting for a child to feel like their parent isn't believing them, right? So that's where my trigger would stem from. It goes all the way back there. That's the root cause of my issues, or what my issues were. Hearing lies said about me, or hearing people talk about me. And the easiest way to get somebody to respond to those types of things and to tap into that kind of trigger is to say shit about them that isn't true. I mean, you are the ultimate puppet master. You can become the ultimate puppet master, the one in control. You can have people triggered left, right, and all over social media. If you tap in to that trigger, if you've got a narcissistic personality, that's what you're going to do. You're going to tap into that trigger, all right? We give these things away by our reactions to other things that go on around us that a narcissistic person is possibly observing at the time, right? So because they do their background checks, narcissists, before they ever come to be in a conversation with you, be it in real life or on social media, they've usually been looking into you behind the scenes, okay? Looking at your social media, trying to find things, what you like, what you don't like, what you talk about, what you don't talk about, those kinds of things. So they tend to have knowledge of us before we have knowledge of them. And then after a split up or a break, or it's a friendship and you've both parted your ways, they will continue to monitor you, stalk you. You may not even realize you're being stalked, and that they're going through all your public social media platforms, the accounts that you have. That is what they do. They seek information about you before they know you, and they continue seeking information about you after they've known you, okay? They continue to do that for a very long time, to check up on you, what you're doing. So that's why it's ultra important that you don't write how you feel about what somebody's saying about you on social media in public. I don't think I made this part as clear as I should have done. You can still have the reaction, feeling hurt, feeling upset, feeling angry, all right? Anger is usually the most common feeling we see occur when people are being spoken about or lies are being said about. We usually see the anger. So you can feel all those things. You should feel all those things. You should process all of those things, acknowledge all of those things internally by having some internal dialogue with yourself, but you just cannot show that on social media. So you can feel these things towards the people saying terrible things about you. You just can't let them know how you're feeling about it, all right? So this is about counter manipulation. So we don't walk into the trap, we manage the toxicity instead of falling into it. So if we are becoming self-aware and more self-enlightened, one of the first things we need to learn to recognize is when we're in our emotional thinking as opposed to being in our logical thinking. Because if we're more aware of when we're in those states of mind, you're more aware of when somebody else is trying to put you in that state of mind, because that's the first goal of the narcissist, to get you into your emotional brain. Because once you're in that emotional brain, you're more reactive, you are less logical, you're not using your coping skills, and you're just simply being reactive. You're not using your intelligence or any of those things, your rationale, the reasonable side of you. You're being likely, as an example, defensive, offensive. You're firing back, firing shots back. And that's what you want to avoid. All right. So becoming more aware of when you are in your emotional thinking as opposed to your logical thinking is necessary. So start to notice throughout the day, right? Maybe you're watching something on TV and it gets you really angry and you'll be like, oh, wow, right. So here I am. This is me reacting. This is me in my emotional brain. Okay. And then when you're doing other things, I don't know, when somebody comes to you with a problem, you're using the self side of you, the logical thinking, the more logical thinking, the reasonable side, the rational side, to engage with this person, reach them at the level they're on, and explain to them whatever it is you need to explain. So being aware of when we're starting to get emotional and winding that back down becomes natural. Once we've acknowledged that we're going to act this way instead of the old way, it takes a while for the brain to learn that no, we're not going with that programming anymore. We're going with this programming. When we feel ourselves start to react or start to get emotional around these types of situations, we're going to wind that back down, take some deep breaths. And this is absolutely necessary, because the deep breaths that we have been told for years, you know, like when they used to say, oh, you're supposed to say, take some deep breaths. Just take 3 to 5 deep breaths. Like when you feel stressed, just take some deep breaths. Like, who the hell has ever done that? I never used to take that I just used to take that with a pinch of salt, like as if that's going to do anything to help. Well, actually it does. It does a lot to help, the deep breaths. The deep breaths are important, all right? And you can do these at any time. You can do them while you're in the car, okay? Take 5 deep breaths. And what it does is it turns on the prefrontal cortex. And that's what we need on to be in our logical thinking. So when we go into emotional thinking, this turns off. So this is kind of like how I've had it explained to me and how I've adapted or incorporated this kind of coping skill, this tool, into my toolbox to use, because it benefits me and it's so much healthier. Overall, I'm so much calmer in real life. There's no emotional roller coasters. I'm more aware of when I start to be, getting emotional, and then I can wind it back in and I go back to being logical. So keeping doing these types of things, it does take a while for it to feel natural, because you've got to keep catching yourself and noticing. And these are things that we weren't noticing before, all right? When we're emotional, we are easier to manipulate. Automatically we become easier to manipulate. So when you are reading something, or you happen to see somebody type something or whatever and they're saying something about you, if you do start to feel wound up, that's the moment when you need to assert the self-discipline and tell yourself, no, 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 we're not doing this today, okay? They're simply saying things about me that aren't true. I don't need to get emotional. Let's observe what these people are saying. Observe what these people are thinking, right? Observe it rather than absorb it. And that goes back to a teaching from a psychologist that's on YouTube, okay? And the actual phrase, observe, don't absorb, originally, way back when, stemmed from him, okay? I speak about doing something similar, like we're like in the cases of watching TV or other things, right? When we are on YouTube, we just absorb information. We're in a more absorbent state of mind. It's like we check out. Do you know, like when we get in from work and we're tired and we just want to wind down, we get a drink and then we get on our phones and we check social media. Typically at that kind of time, our minds are blank. We're just absorbing what we're reading, absorbing what's going on, absorbing it, instead of more kind of observing, right? And our interactions, what we need to start doing with our interactions with the people that we have around us, if we're going to get smarter in spotting these red flags and the traits and the behaviours and the signs to look out for, we need to be in a more observant mindset and in the logical thinking side of us, okay? And by doing these things from the beginning, these are how we become more in touch with our intuition, that inner internal instinct that we have warning us of danger, like our creep detector or whatever you want to call it, right? The creep radar. So by observing the interactions and observing what people are doing around us, or when we're on social media, like in these in these channels, when we're in the live streams chatting and stuff like that, or we're listening to the things being said, we need to be more observant instead of just absorbing it and not really paying too much attention. And then somebody says something and it's just like a quick reaction and you're straight to emotional thinking and being defensive and offensive and firing back, all right? So emotional thinking equals easier to manipulate. So from the start, that is where they want you to be. The easiest way to get one of us, a normie, for example, in our emotional brain, just tell horrible lies, right? And watch the other person jump, and you'll know from yourself how you've had, if you can analyze your own reactions to the things that you've heard said about you. What did you do? What was your first reaction? What did you do? What did you think? Were you angry, upset? You want to send some back in their direction. You want to fire back, right? Oh, you're not going to talk about me like this, bitch. Fuck you, right? They're the type. So we need to be more observant of how we're being, okay, as well. By telling the horrible lies, clearly then you watch these people jump to react. You become the puppet master, the one in control of all the hurt, frustration and anger that the other person is feeling. So if we look at that from a narcissistic point of view or a sociopathic point of view, they're going to enjoy that. That's the whole point. That's the trap, okay? They become in control of us, because think about it. If somebody can say something about you and it causes you to behave in a certain way, who's in control of who at that time? Who's in control? They are, okay? They are. It's them we need to neutralize by not having these types of reactions, right? And instead talking to someone privately, taking it away. It's like when you hear people saying online, I'm going to go to the police and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, right? And I'm thinking, why are you giving away everything you're going to do, right? Because now you're just letting them know. So, and they can sabotage. You never tell somebody what your intention is. See, most of that for me is just grandstanding and posturing behaviour. That's how I interpret it. You do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that and I'm going to call the police and I'm making a fucking police report. I've got a lawyer and you're going to hear from them. This is going to court, all right? I'm not going to fucking take this lying down. Just wait until your back's turned. I'm going to get you back. I'm going to get you back. And I'm thinking, why are you telling them what you're going to do though? Why? Because you give them a chance to get out ahead of that and sabotage you. You never tell somebody that's coming after you, what your next moves are going to be. And say in real life, if it came to the point, because my the harassment or the stalking type behaviour that I receive, it's sporadic, and while it's different to how it would be online, because it is very different, I've had to learn how to handle it better. Okay, so the taking the deep breaths. If we begin to feel stressed or annoyed, take the 5 to 10 deep breaths. You do feel calmer after doing it. It turns back on the prefrontal cortex, which is needed to be on for our reasonable side, our coping skills, the logical thinking, our intelligence, all those types of things that we tap into. We need that on. All right, so once we start to go up the ladder of getting emotional, we need to take a few steps back down by taking some deep breaths and overriding this initial instinct you have to react, to shout and react. We need to override that. That is a warning system that your brain has got used to behaving as by following this system that's ingrained. So to reverse that, we need to put something down in place of that, understand why we need to do that, and then obviously get on with adjusting that or becoming more like that, incorporating it more into like our daily lives, into the ways that we do things, right? So it is hard to switch how we normally react to the ways that we want to react to correct this whole entire situation, okay? So it does take time. There are going to be, like, oh, trust me, if you knew how many times I've had bloody emotional reactions. I mean, I could be the queen of having an emotional reaction and just being triggered by people or what they've said, you know, in the past, in real life kind of thing. So don't feel like this is, if you're having an emotional reaction or you feel hurt by the things that people are saying, there's nothing wrong with that, all right? The whole point of this is to become emotionally strong, right? More in charge of ourselves and in charge of the reactions, instead of the reactions just happening, right? And we're not being mindful of what we're doing. Okay, we're just doing it. Instead of thinking about what we want to feel, about what the person's saying, we're just having these huge emotional reactions. So we're getting healthier. We're going to become more enlightened about ourselves and about tuning out lower frequencies, which drama is. It's a lower frequency, okay? I mean, you're not getting, you're not learning a lot of, you're not gaining any self-insight or, you know, learning anything. There's no wisdom within the drama, is there, kind of thing. That's what I mean. It's like a lower frequency. So we want to stop being affected by the lower frequencies. So we have to make these healthier changes and adapt. And because there is so much narcissistic behavior on YouTube, and because I believe there are actually so many narcissists, NPDs, wandering around, and clearly there's so much toxicity on YouTube, for me, I think it's necessary that there begins to be, there's something you can do to counteract what's going on. Obviously, if it's getting serious and they're reaching into your real life and things like that, you must inform the police, okay? Take, you know, do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. This is just guidance in handling it better, okay? But the learning to become less reactive to the things people say, that is an important process of being able to ignore somebody and not be fazed. You have a whinge about it to your friend and you move on. You've forgotten about it, okay? You don't keep going over to the channels to check. You don't keep asking people what they're saying about you. You change and adopt different ways of coping and managing all of this, okay? So it is a process. It's a process of, as well, where you do need to do some self-psychology. That is absolutely required within this. The narcissist taps, or the toxic person, okay, they tap into a trigger that they know affects you, okay? So it makes sense that you need to heal that trigger, resolve that trigger, figure out what put that trigger there in the first place. And this is how you become bulletproof, This is how you become bulletproof, okay? By fixing these triggers. And they need fixing. They're good for us. It's healthier for us to fix these triggers, okay? So when I'm just writing this down, I don't for 1 second anywhere believe that this is easy. I'm not trying to persuade people to do this because I just think, you know, it's easy, you just read it, do it, and that's it. It's not. It does take time. It takes time. And over time, it works. And I know it works because I'm doing it presently, okay? And I have been doing it for a long time while I've been on here. And these tips, again, they have come to me along the way, like by somebody sharing something with me, by somebody telling me something, by someone, even by someone saying something randomly, you know, like how you do, somebody says something and you think, wow, that hits a spot for something that you've got going on in your head, and then you can draw a correlation and figure something out and, you know, come to figure something out, or reading, or by being in groups and having conversations, like, or people sharing their wisdom. That's all this is, okay? The jewels, the jewels from wisdom that's been shared with me, enlightened to me, you know, things like that, okay? So you don't need to go and do all the reading and research and finding answers and learning how to do A, B, and C. You don't need to, because I'm just picking out the jewels that I think are the best tools to have in our toolbox, and I'm just talking about them. That's all I'm doing. These are what have helped me within my recovery. Absolutely. All right. So I'm not just trying to sell you something or force something down your neck that's not going to benefit you. This will make you healthier and more confident, right? And have more self-esteem simply by fixing a trigger such as this. Why are you so triggered when somebody over there is telling lies about you? Okay, now even me occasionally, I'll still feel that pang, right? Like, how could you say that? I don't want you saying that and telling that to people, because it's an awful lie and it's not true. Okay, I still get pangs of that. So don't dismiss your feelings, honor them, acknowledge them, and feel them, right? Just don't display them anywhere the narcissist could see them or get to hear about it, okay? And this is why cutting certain people off becomes necessary, because there will be people that you'll say something to, or they really pissed me off yesterday, and they will go back and say to that person, I don't know what you did yesterday, but they were really pissed off, and they're going to get enjoyment from that and fuel from that, and obviously they're going to continue doing whatever it was that they were doing, all right? So this isn't easy, okay? But with some simple coaching, like these tips, this is the coaching, all right? And fuck-ups, I should have said mistakes really, we do get better at managing the toxicity rather than falling into it. So at all times, that should be in your headspace, okay? You spot toxic behavior or toxicity comes towards you, you switch into logical thinking, all right? And your way of thinking is more about managing it than trying to, falling into it and becoming a part of it, all right? That's what we don't want to do, because we've been doing that and it doesn't get us anywhere. And then it ends up where we're just in this long-term battle with somebody fighting. And I mean, it just becomes so stupid, because you're just fighting over stupid things and you're wasting time. The amount of people that have died recently over the last year, okay? Time is precious. Stop using it to fight with people that you don't like or that are toxic on YouTube. Avoid them, okay? Find things that are joyful to you or that you enjoy doing and do them instead, okay? Forget them. They're there to distract you from doing the things that you should be doing that are good for you, okay? So during this time, all right, hang on, you're looking at a good 3 months doing all the right things required for this situation, okay? Now, it will get worse before it gets better. I must make that so clear. And this is how and why it does get worse. We have to understand that the narcissist, or the toxic people typically, but the narcissist specifically, they have something called arrested development, all right? So their development stopped at a certain age in childhood, all right, for whatever reason. And typically you find that it's a kind of between the ages of 9 to 13, I'd say the behaviour for me, in my opinion, matches up with a kid. Okay, it's like when people say it's like trying to communicate with a kid in having a tantrum, it really is. All right, so it's almost as though the behaviour we have to manage is like that we would get from a kid between 9 to 13 having some crazy tantrum about something. All right, so if you think about a child, right, and they've kept saying to you, can I have this, can I have this, and you've kept saying no, right, but on the 10th time you say yes, after they've cried, had a paddy, kicked off, sulked, made you feel bad, right, and they keep asking, and it gets to the 10th time and you say yes, all right, yes, okay, you can have it, just stop it, right? So you give the child whatever it was they want, right? Well, the next time the child wants something, they know the process now that they need to go through. They need to keep on up until the 10th time, and around that time is usually where you're giving and you'll give them the answer they want, okay? So in the kid's mind, if they're like, right, she keeps saying no, mum, but please, and then, you know, fake tears, I'm really upset, I really need it, it's for A, B and C, I really need it, please, and they get to the 10th time. But this time, whereas before you've said yeah and given in, this time you continue saying no at the 10th time, that's going to be a shock to that child's system, right? So they're going to be like, what the fuck? It worked last time when we got to this point. After I'd made it feel guilty, it worked, okay? I got what I wanted. So they will then continue up to 15 times, right? So if at 15 times, then you give in and say yes, okay? The next time the kid's wanting something and you say no, they paddy all the way up to the 10, the tears, the guilt trip, right? I really want it, I really need it. You still don't give in at 10, they get to 15 and you don't give in this time. The kid's like, and this is just an example, by the way, all right? It's just an example. So the kid's like, wow, what the fuck? We're on the 15th time. It worked yesterday. Why is it not working today? So they take it up to 20, all right? They take this tantrum up to 20. And if at 20 you don't give in, which is the point most people are at within YouTube, if you think about these battles back and forth, the kid takes it up to 20 and the parent still says no. The kid takes it to 25, the parent's still saying no. What do you think the kid's going to do? What do you think? Do you think the kid's going to come back down to 1, or do you think they're going to go up to 30 to see if that works? Right? They're going to go up to 30 because there's been regular intervals in the past where it's got to a certain point where you've given in, right? Well, this kind of dynamic works with the narcissist. If you've ignored them for 2 days and not said anything, okay, they will ramp up their toxicity, thinking by the time you get to 3, 4 and 5, right, you're going to give in. If you don't give in, they're going to take it up to 10, right? Because why are they not giving in? You're going to do what I want. I'm trying to trigger you. Be triggered. I need a reaction. And you're not giving it no reaction, okay? They're going to take it up to 15, right? And if they're still getting no reaction because you're still abiding by these kinds of ideas to stick to, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to come back down to 1? Or do you think they're going to keep going higher and higher to see if it works, saying worse and worse stuff, telling more and more lies, being more critical and cruel, okay? They're going to continue up to 20 to 25 to 30, okay? The narcissist needs to get to the 30 before it hits their brain. There's no fuel here. No, it's just not working. It's actually harming me by the rejection because of the lack of reaction. It's hurting me more than it's helping me. And each time I come, I'm just getting like soccer punched in the face with the silence, right? Because you're not responding. So they keep getting soccer punched to the face by the silence, which makes them angry initially. So they will ramp up their toxicity, their verbal abuse, their aggression, their intimidation. They will get worse, stalking you in chats, trolling chats. Where are you? Telling people you're a bitch or she's a liar over there. They're going to continue, okay? They need to reach the point that they need to reach in order for it to be completely smacked across both sides of their faces with the silence. that know you are not going to react, and them keep coming to try and get one is going to cause a narcissistic injury, right? Because they're not winning and they're not getting the reaction they want. This is what needs to happen for the narcissistic person or the toxic person to leave you alone, right? And when I say leave you alone, there's some pause with that, okay? I need to go back to that point. So it will get worse if you're ignoring somebody, because I get this, I either hear it a lot or I get people saying it to me a lot. I've tried ignoring them, it doesn't work, right? Ignoring them doesn't work. We have to manage them. And this is the process that we have to go through to manage them. That's healthier for us, okay? And better for us long term, okay? This is why I want people to recognize the red flags, because once you're on their radar, that's it for life. That's what I keep telling people. And in some ways, and that's why I still get sporadically stalked and harassed every so often, okay? The person will show up or do something, right? Or something to scare me or something, right? That every so often, just to let me know, I've not forgotten about you. I've not forgotten about you. Don't think you get to walk away, right? All happy and shit. I've not forgotten about you. I know where you are and I can show up whenever I want. You've no control over me. That's the kind of mentality. So with this situation on YouTube, we need the toxic person to hit a wall and be hurt more by the silence, right? Rather than them still getting enjoyment from trying to trigger you and get you to react. And obviously each toxic person has a different point where they reach the idea or finally come to see that targeting this person isn't resulting in anything for me. It's useless. I need to do something else because it's not working, all right? So they have to reach the point where they've really understood that you're going to be silent. And as I explained earlier with the example with the kid, right? Taking up to 10, 15 and 20 to get the parent to give in. This is the same dynamic the narcissist is using. They're going to ramp it up. The abuse is going to be ramped up, right? The first time you ignore them, they say the routine is they go live and then you go live to respond. Or they say something and then you go live to respond. If there's a couple of days where that doesn't happen, clearly they notice everything, right? Behavior, body language, micro expressions, they notice shit, these types of people, okay? It's instinctive to them. They don't even have to think about it while they're doing it. They just do it. They're literally like Terminators, literally. So they need to reach that point. And for each person on here that's got an issue with a toxic person, there's going to be a variation, all right? But the important point is that you're remaining silent. It's really important that you get into a practice of not looking, right? Because it is hurtful. And while you're trying to work through being less triggered and being more accepting of this kind of idea, the last thing you need to be seeing is what they're saying, because that's going to unravel and you're going to go back to doing what you've always done, all right? So it's important that you try and stick to these things. Talk to somebody if you need to vent. Just don't do it. And don't be sharing like passive aggressive memes or memes that are saying how wonderful your life is. You know, life's great for me, check me out on the beach kind of thing, because it's a mind game and it's obvious why you're doing it, okay? The narcissist or toxic people, they know all those types of tricks that we try to play to, I don't know, manipulate them. It's like if you've split up with someone and they've treated you bad, right? You might leave part of your social media on public knowing full well or hoping that if they come over and look, it looks like you're doing amazing, okay? Look at your new car and look at your new house. They know that the reason you're doing it is to affect them and they still get fuel from it. They still get enjoyment and it's still classed as engaging. So there can't be any passive aggressive comments anywhere. There can't be anything about bragging how wonderful your life is. Nothing, okay? Because that's just, again, playing into it. We want to sever the tie so that the narcissist or the toxic person understands when they come to you, they get zilch, right? Nothing. Find someone else because I'm not going to be your target. You're not going to come here and get any kind of a reaction. Whether you get up to 40 or 50, 60 or 70, however far you take it, you're not going to get me to react publicly. Now, right, aside from this, you can make a video. I wouldn't say no more than 2 if you seriously feel like you want to just explain yourself, all right? Say like some of these lies are extensive that the toxic person is saying about you. You can, if you make videos and obviously do content, you can mention, and it has to be calmly, or it would have to be calmly, and it would have to be done in a way so it's with humility, all right? So I'll just use an example. So say like people have been talking about me and saying your content's fake, or your content's stolen, or you're a liar, you don't know all this stuff, it's not all your work, all right? Say that somebody was saying that, right? And say that I felt I needed to address it. If I were to address it, I would need to address it calmly and with humility, all right? There can't be no bitchiness, no hubris, no trying to grandstand or posture. This is where you would use the self side of you, right? So you would address possibly the subscribers. I'm trying to use me within this to give you an example, a clearer example of what I'm on about, right? So say me making a video to address it. So I would make the video to address it, and I'd be like, hi guys, I'm just coming on to let you know there's been some things said recently, and while they've not necessarily upset me, it would bother me that people would think this kind of thing. So I just want to let you know that the things I talk about on my channel, or the memes that I make, or the reactions that I have to things, they're my reactions, okay? Now, I can't force you to believe that. I can't make you believe that. It's obviously your own will, but I just feel like I need to say it because I don't want people thinking that I'm a fake or a fraud. So I just wanted to let you know. I just wanted to reassure my subscribers that what's being said over there isn't true. Okay, so you could make a video like that that's not being reactive, that's not trying to be offensive or attacking anybody, or using, you know, terms to call people names, things like that. So you can, if you did feel in this situation, I need to address my subscribers and I am worried about them thinking this, that and the other, and you can do it calmly, and it's going to be a short video type of thing where you're not addressing the toxic person directly, okay? You're addressing your subscribers, then you would be fine to do that, all right? I would say overall, because this could go on for 4 months. This is why I say stay off the radar, but people don't believe me. Like when I say don't fuck with that person, or I wouldn't do that, or this person, like, because I just hate having to just say it if I've already noticed it. And again, sometimes people have to learn for themselves, but I don't even know, like, you don't want to be on the radar in the first place. So if you notice that there's red flags around someone and they seem a bit delusional and they seem like they tell these grandiose lies about themselves, then there's your red flags already telling you that this is likely, by those kinds of traits, this is likely someone that's kind of narcissistic. So fucking with them or getting on the radar is not going to be a good idea. It's not going to work out well for you. But our ego is telling us all the time, this person ain't going to say shit about me. Who the fuck do they think they are, right? And then it becomes this back and forth battle, doesn't it? So if necessary, if you did need, or felt like you needed to, or wanted to make a video in that kind of way, no problem with that, all right? Because I know that some people get really, like some of the people that I talk to, they get really, really, really upset and they feel like they want to address it, all right? You just can't be showing any of the upsetness. It needs to be done with sheer humility, okay? Because we're about countering manipulation, not walking into it, not falling into it, and not playing into it. About doing it managing it in a healthier way, because we don't want to be toxic, okay? There's better ways to communicate than by being toxic, and that's the goal, all right? It's self-betterment. So again, if you felt like you needed to explain to your subscribers because you're worried about what this liar is saying about you, then do it and do it that way, all right? And then no more than 2 videos, I would say. And again, this kind of a situation, you're looking at a good 3 months of doing all the right things required for this situation, possibly 4 months. And then hopefully by that time, the toxic individual has been trying to get reactions out of you and failing, and it's hitting the wood in their head, hello, there's going to be no reaction here. Fuck off and find another target. That's what we want them to get. That's the point we want them to get to. That's the goal. We want them to get tired of trying to get a reaction and failing, and then they will go away. But again, right, this is where I said earlier, getting them to go away and leave you alone, and why you should avoid getting on the radar in the first place, is because every so often they come back. All right, every so often they come back, and they do that in real life too. I split up with somebody when my second child was 6 months old, and she's now nearly 15, right? And I still get targeted by this person every so often, right? A few times a year, something happens, okay, out of nowhere. Something terrible, or something nasty, or something's done cruel, or something's done in a creepy way, right? And it's back to the police or restraining orders and things like that. So this is, you're talking like even 12 years after. They're going to remember you, that you were once a good source of supply for fuel, a reaction, or a good fight. They're going to remember, and they're going to be like, oh, I need some fuel today. I'm going to go back over there and see what Sonia's doing. I'm going to go and fuck with her for a bit, okay? So this is why, again, avoiding the radar in the first place is the best thing to do. You spot the red flags, okay? You don't get emotionally attached to new people, because once we have that emotional attachment to somebody early on, that's where we start to go wrong, because we barely know them, and usually we attach onto them after we've shared some kind of trauma story or some experience, and we've both had the same one, and we kind of emotionally attach onto people, and that's not healthy. That is like a codependent trait. All right, so I've had to learn to not get so emotionally invested in new people so early, because say like if you emotionally invest in someone that you've only known a couple of weeks, okay, and you give everything to them, right, you're really emotionally involved with this person. Like you share something, you're always having good chats, you know, you tell them about your life, your kids, you show them pictures, this is where I live, or it'd be so cool to meet up. And then you're going to find out in 3 months that they're a narcissistic individual or toxic. Look at all that emotional investing you've done, and it was a complete waste of time. It's not healthy to invest so early on with new people. So if you're doing that, okay, you're keeping your boundaries and you're not oversharing, because oversharing is another, it's like a codependent trait, a fixer trait. And this oversharing doesn't benefit us. It's dangerous. So if you're observing these kinds of boundaries, you're not emotionally investing in new people. Because I hate to know I waste my time. Like when I'm the people, whoever it is that I talk to or that I fuck with or chill with, right? I don't fuck with people that I'm not 100% interested in talking to, okay? I don't waste my time. You'll know anyway, autistic people, the small talk, all those types of things that we do in passing that like neurotypicals tend to do, normies, right? I can't do all that. I'm crap at all that within a social interaction. Yeah, how are you doing? Like when someone says to me, how are you doing? Like, I'm wanting to give you the full story of how I'm doing, not just go, oh yeah, I'm fine, thanks, how are you? Because for me, I struggle with the just saying I'm fine. If I'm not, I'm like, but I'm not fine. So why am I telling this person I'm fine? But if I'm telling them I'm not good, then this is going to fuck up this whole interaction, blah, blah, blah. So if you're doing all these kinds of things from the beginning and you're being cautious about spotting red flags or noticing this person has these grandiose lies that they like to tell about themselves, they're your warning signs to stay away, not to go over and try and fuck with them in the first place, okay? Because now you're on the radar, and if you fuck them off, you're going to stay on that radar. Even once you've done all this ignoring kind of thing, at some point, they will come back or they will say stuff and they'll try again. Okay, will it work? Well, they'll get you up to 5 to 10. Will they give in after 10? Will they give in after 15 attempts, 20, 25? So again, avoiding them from the off, because you can't get rid of them. And if you understand, right, that how much pain this is causing you now, say like the people that want the person to stop bothering them, right? Think about how you feel about it all. You hate it, it makes you upset, you're sick of it, you've had enough of it, you just want it to fucking stop. When you're in that kind of headspace, that's the headspace you need to remember being in when you see somebody telling grandiose lies and being narcissistic. You need to remember those types of feelings, right? You just want it to stop. Don't go there in the first place. Don't go there with that person in the first place, because that ultimately is what you're going to be stuck with. I just want it to stop and it won't stop, right? Because this is what they do. They don't stop. They're like Terminators. They keep coming. They keep coming. They'll keep coming after a year, after 6 months, after 18 months, after 2 years. They'll keep coming, okay? As I said to you, my child was 6 months old and she is now almost 15. And I still get stalked, harassed, bothered, tormented, taunted, scared, right? Whatever, harassed. And this was how long ago? Okay, so when I'm telling you they don't stop, they don't fucking stop. And the internet makes it easier for them not to have to stop, because you can't call the police when they're bothering you on the internet. There's pretty much nothing you can do. But you can get smart and counter manipulate the fucker, all right? Get on top of this situation and fucking manage it, okay? This is the side of yourself that you need to tap into. You're going to get fucking managed, right? How you need to be managed. Don't feel or treat them as though they're like you, where they have rationale, reasonable, they can be reasonable, they've got coping skills, they understand. That's not them, that's you, okay? They need to be managed. And at the same time, we don't want to be being toxic. And as bad as they are, as awful as they are, I don't want to be like them, okay? And I don't want, ultimately, bad for them either. Okay, if we're being healthy, if you want a secretly wish, they stubbed the fucking toe or they banged the knee or something, fair enough. But ultimately, right, if we're being fair and we're coming more from an enlightened point of view, a peaceful and a healthier point of view, we don't want bad for them, all right? This isn't about abusing them or trying to manipulate them. This is about countering the manipulation that they're using and neutralizing this whole thing by managing it with your self side of you instead of your ego and these kinds of tools, okay? You have got this. During this time, all right, when you first begin to go this no contact, you're looking at a good 3 months, good 3 or 4 months, doing all the right things required for this situation to decrease. And hopefully, they've become so bored, they're leaving you alone. You want them to become bored. And they become bored by you playing dead, okay? You have to play dead with the narcissist, all right? And once they understand there is nothing here to milk, there is no attention, there is nothing, nobody's coming to listen to the lies that I'm saying. People are getting bored of the lies that I'm preaching or the stories that I'm telling about this person because they're not firing back, right? So it just becomes them looking how they need to look to the people watching, okay? This is where people get to see them. By you stopping, do people get to see who is really who, all right? And the narcissist always reveals themselves. The mask always slips. They can't hold it in, okay? They'll get angrier and angrier. They'll start saying nastier stuff, making threats, telling you that they're going to contact your grandma, call the school that your kid goes to, right? You still don't fucking respond. You manage it privately. If they're making those kinds of threats, you do what you need to do to keep yourself safe in real life. If you have to call the police or you have to warn your school or you have to tell your family, you do it. You don't fucking announce it. You do it behind the scenes, all right? You don't ever let someone like that know what your next move is going to be. You keep them guessing, all right? You keep them guessing. And you make them get to a point where they're so bored and tired and they look so ugly and nasty to the people listening because of the horrible things that they're saying about you, okay? All right? And this is how you win, okay? Your mind is stronger than the triggered emotions triggered by the narcissist, all right? Your mind is stronger, okay? Act like it. Treat it as though it is. Your mind is stronger than the emotions you feel. You have the power within you to decide how you want to think about something, all right? So while it might be upsetting, you can adapt that thinking or switch that kind of thinking to something like, how can I explain this now? I have to keep pulling up examples out of fresh air. I think I'm running out of them. So give me a second. So we're not going to be absorbing the words that they're saying that affect us, right? It is okay to be hurt behind the scenes and upset, obviously. Your feelings are valid 100%. However, okay, before those feelings are felt, you can use your brain to think, okay? And tell yourself, talk to yourself, right, this is a toxic person. They want me upset. They don't even believe half of what they're saying. They're saying it for a response. And while it is hurtful, I'm not going to let it affect me because it's just bullshit. And my mind and my self-acceptance is louder and so much more powerful than the things you think about me or the things that you say about me. My mind is more powerful than you and your bullshit. End of story, okay? That's the goal. That's what we're aiming towards. That's what all this is about. So by doing that simple self-psychology work, we're figuring out what it was or what it is that sets you off when you hear lies said about you. You all know what my cause of that trigger was, okay? So by me healing that trigger, right, and thinking, do you know what, Sonia? It triggers you because you were never believed as a kid, right? And it was hurtful and it was horrible when your parent or your birth giver or your mother kept rejecting you and disbelieving you and believing the other person over you, right? You're allowed to be hurt by that. But we're in the present day now, and this isn't the situation that's happening, okay? It's not about, we're not in a situation where your mother, parent or birth giver is disbelieving you, right? You're a grown adult, and this is what's happening today, okay? I don't care. I don't want to care about people believing lies about me. I don't want to care about stuff like that. It's not important. In the grand scheme of things, I know it feels so important when we're micro-focused on it and it's happening to us. It is, okay? You can't ignore that it's happening. And that's another part of this. What I used to say, it's not about, you can't ignore, okay? You have to manage. And while I'm saying this is a video, you know, teaching you how to ignore somebody, there's a whole load of practices that come within ignoring somebody as toxic as the narcissistic individual, right? It's not just as simple as turning your face away and not looking, okay? There's a whole load of mental shit that we have to process to be able to successfully ignore the being that we intend to ignore. So, oh God, this video is getting long. I'm going to go and find people talking about me, and we're going to try and show you how to handle it in a healthier way when things are said about you. So give me a second. Right, so I found this. This is where I'm being discussed on another channel derogatively. So we're going to look at it, and instead of absorbing it, right, and absorbing what these people are saying, we're just going to pretend the strangers for this, all right? So for this, just trying to keep it all neutral and using it I'm trying to use it as an objective example to show you when this presents to you, people talking about you, how you can handle it better, all right? And the first step to do that is by recognizing that we may absorb other people's words initially when they're said and take them straight to our heart, okay? Feel hurt, feel upset, feel angry, feel whatever it is we're feeling, okay? Maybe that it's lies they're saying, right? So we need to nip that chain reaction in the bud, okay? And it tends to happen when we see the words or hear the words said, and instinctively we allow it to go to hit the heart, right? And then have this reaction to it. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do, we're going to be in an observant state of mind, and we're going to observe this this entire thing of how it's going to go, of how it's coming across. All right. So there's people talking about me, and they're going to say negative things, derogative things, things that aren't true. And instead of me having a reaction by absorbing the words, I'm going to take a minute to think about it first, right? Before I have this crazy emotional reaction and go off my head. You fucking bitch, how dare you? Who the fuck do you think you are? Don't fucking say that. How can you say that when you do this? Well, you've done that and you've done the other. So what the fuck do you think you're doing now? You've no right to say that to me, right? So that type of reaction, we're not going to give it that type of reaction. We're going to be in a more observant state, right? A more logical state. And we're going to remain in this logical state while we review some of the things that people say about us. And actually, the best thing, right? This was the best thing about the Boit community, if you ever heard of it or you used to visit there. One of the best things I learned about the Boit community was being able to become comfortable within side chats while people were saying shit about me that wasn't true, right? Because oftentimes in Boit, there'd be side chat scraps, right? Somebody had come in that was, I don't know, someone you didn't like, or they were coming in aggressively, or they were coming in and saying something, so then I say something, and it becomes like a little scrap in the side chat, say, right? And one of the best things was I got good at being able to be in a chat while people were saying shit about me in the same chat and not having this emotional reaction to it. Just sitting with it and letting it go on around me, okay? Letting it go on around me by not attaching onto it in the first place, if that makes sense, right? So I'm going to play this now and we're going to hear something said and we're going to listen, right?
And I just want to say about profile manipulation over here.
Hang on. I think it's a bit fast. Turn you down a bit. 1.5.
Person calls herself an expert in narcissism, an expert in toxic relationships, blah, 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 blah. She says it about everybody here's toxic, everybody hears this or that. And she has, and I used to really admire Sonia. I used to really think that she knows what she's talking about. And she really does. But she hates us or hates me. So of course she can't agree with me, even though I'm completely right in saying all of the things that she herself has said about other people. Same red flags, same toxic behavior. But you're not going to agree with me because you don't like me. And I understand. Fair enough. I just find that ironic because you're so quick to call everybody else a narcissist, a toxic person, a this, or that, or that. And when I say it, based on my own experience, my own education, my own understanding, you have to disagree just because you can't stand me. I just find that odd. I don't know, I just totally felt better.
Right. So that happened, right? And factually, a lot of that is untrue. So I've got a choice now. Do I want to take this on board or do I not? Okay? I can sit while these people say things about me and be still, feel nothing, all right? Just still feel in the same chilled state. And this becomes the end result of altering and making minor changes or, utilizing different tools or skills that we've picked up along the way from people telling us tips, observing other people, reading stuff, listening, people that speak, and when they speak, a wisdom just comes out within every sentence. I do like a lot of Eckhart Tolle's work. I have a couple of his books, and he's more about a peaceful state of mind and of being, right? And this is what we want to be. This is the end result we want to be. We want to be able to sit while people say stuff about us and have no reaction to it. Just let it go on, okay? And this is the most difficult thing that people find to do, that I would find to do. God, I half wish I had a snapshot of me reacting back then. I would get so upset. And it wasn't that I was too sensitive. I didn't have the coping skills to manage this kind of thing, right? So I would have been devastated more than angry. For me, like other people anger might be their initial reaction to having things said about them that are untrue, right? For me, it was always upset. I was always upset, devastated. Like, how could you think that? Or how could you say that? Or why would you say that, right? I'd be upset. And my birth giver would always say, you're too sensitive, too sensitive, too sensitive. And as I've learned, as I've got older, by CBT, having therapy, reading, researching, doing all those kinds of things, what other people, in the psychological field have discovered or talked about, right? That's all the things I share. So these things are out there for us to go and find, this kind of knowledge, to apply these kinds of coping skills, but we're just not taught them. And with the internet becoming more of a, a more of a daily factor within our lives, we do need to become better at handling the things that occur on the internet. And of course, the Gen Xers are going to be the pioneers of that, if you will, all right? Because we are, it's our generation that got the internet kind of thing. And then our offspring and their offspring and the millennials and all the Gen Zs and stuff. I mean, it's more constant in people's lives, but we were the beginning of that, if you will. So we need to become more intelligent about how we handle things on the internet. Like when I have like conversations with my children about reactions, or if I put a situation to them as an example, or what would you do if you saw this comment wrote about you, or you said something, or say like if my kid's been mean, right, as a little kid, if they were mean, I was saying, well, that person's horrible, right? Say they wanted to leave a comment on a YouTube channel, that person's horrible. And I give my kid the example, how would you feel if someone came and wrote this stuff on your channel? And if I give them other examples about the things that go on within our community as like a conversation, or to like, I don't know, to just engage where their thinking is on these kinds of things. For me, I think they're really smart. Like they are just like, God, I wouldn't even react to that. Or if I saw that, I just wouldn't even react to it. Well, they're stupid, aren't they? Well, what do you mean they're going to tell someone to die? That just sounds stupid and evil. Who cares if somebody says that? And I'm like, wow, because I'm listening to you tell me, like my kid at 17 saying, I wouldn't care about that. I'd just move on past it. I wouldn't even bother staying to tell them to fuck off. I'd just move past it. I wouldn't care. You don't react or care about things said about you on the internet, right? So that's my 17-year-old's thinking. However, that's not a lot of our thinking, the Gen Xers, okay? We do care, or we have issues with caring about what other people say. So these better coping skills, we are going to have to introduce these things into our lives, because if the internet's here to stay, we're going to have to learn to handle it better. And of course, if you think in the way of celebrities or actors, usually their social media is conducted by somebody, by a manager of sorts, right? Their managers, or whomever, their press, their social media representatives, deal with all these things. And you'll notice that they never respond to comments. And if some celebrity's been in the news for doing something bad, there'll be loads of bad comments under their content or whatever it is, right? And you won't see reactions. You won't see them typing anything. They just leave it be. Celebrities, and why this is relevant is because there's those of us on here that are influencers, like the bigger channels and stuff. And if you think about it, when somebody becomes famous as an actor, they're automatically protected, okay? They get all kinds of smart people, professionals thrown at them to help them to better their appeal to people, okay? They get taught how to seem more engaging and charming in interviews and those kinds of things. They are taught how to handle hate, right? And they have somebody that handles the hate on their social media. Whereas the influencers that are coming up on YouTube, for them it's a different world. They don't have people around them to manage that kind of thing. They have to manage it, okay? They have to, and you'll notice a lot of the big ones, they just don't respond. There's a reason they don't respond, all right? There's a reason why these types of bigger channels, or where people are a bit more famous or a bit more well known, they don't engage the lower frequency bullshit, right? And even though we're not celebrities, I don't mean that in any way, shape or form, or even influencers, okay? But because we're on a platform and we become, in quotes, some sort of a public figure, where if you're talking on social media, that automatically gives somebody else the right to talk about you, okay? Because it's this kind of thinking, and it's fair enough, right? So we're going to have to handle hate and dislike and nasty comments and things that are hurtful, all right? And you'll notice that these bigger influencers or these bigger channels, they manage their hate in healthy ways. They don't engage it, Okay, you'll see people maybe possibly have videos made about them and they don't respond. Even if I've made videos about someone doing a reaction or using it as an example to show something, and the other person hasn't responded back to me saying, you bitch, you said nasty shit about me, that says more about them than it does about me, if you think about it, because they're just choosing to let me have my say over here, which is healthy, right? Because we all have a right to have our say, and they're letting me have my say without correcting it, without trying to control it, without deciding how I should say it, without ordering me not to say it. Okay, so we need to, if we're being healthier, apply those same approaches. We need to manage, even though we're not influencers, very kind, and I never want to be, but we still have to manage the public, or the general public visiting our channels or being within this like drama community. So you can see that there is a healthier way to handle this kind of bullshit, right? Rather than absorbing it and reacting to it. Now, you think about celebrities, think about the people that really hate them, right? There's loads. They have like football pitch stadium. They have like football stadiums full. They could fill a stadium full of the amount of people that seethe or hate them or whatever, right? But they manage it. They don't react and they don't respond. They just don't engage. And that's the point, because once we engage it, we do make it worse. And once we attach onto it, like this now, what they have to say about me, I am not going to pick it up, right? And if I feel some sort of way about it, I'll speak to my friends. You know, who the fuck did they think they were though, saying that? I mean, God, why? All right? Or something like that, yeah? I'm going to do it privately, not publicly. Because at the end of the day, these people, whether I like them or not, they're allowed the same rights as me. Okay, they're allowed to express their dislike. They're allowed to tell lies. All right, there's no law saying you can't tell lies about other people on the internet. They're allowed to say it. So what can I do to handle it better, or in a way that isn't going to make me upset and devastated like it would have done years ago, right? There is a healthier way to approach it. So while they're discussing me, first off, I shouldn't even be listening, all right? But obviously sometimes you do hear mean things that are said about you. So if you do happen to hear it, okay, don't attach onto it. Don't pick it up, okay? Just sit with what they've said about you, right? And if you do feel angry or upset, process it. Acknowledge it. The feeling's valid. Acknowledge it. Work through it. And then you can just put it to bed forever, pretty much, all right? Let go of it. So take over, right? Do you know when I said like your mind is stronger than your triggered emotions? And it's true, it is, okay? I could have a huge emotional reaction to this, or instead I could think, no, hold up, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to observe it, right? They're saying A, B, and C. Well, A, B, and C isn't true, right? Are they people, like, pretend they're not who they are, obviously, right? But do we care that strangers are saying these kinds of things about us? Do we want to care about it? Well, I don't want to care. So do you know what? My mind is stronger than my triggered emotions. So I'm going to tell myself I don't want to care. I'm not caring about it. They said it. It's not true. So what? Okay, so what? Leave it where it is. Leave it where it is and carry on moving along. What am I doing? Right, I need to go to the store. I need to go to the cash point. Right, I've got an hour until they pick the kids up. I've got work. I need to start getting ready for work. I've got to make food. I don't know what we're doing for dinner. I'm going to call a friend. I'm so pissed off with what they said, right? If you do feel pissed off with what they said, talk to somebody. But initially, you do need to sit with it. I recommend that you sit with the hateful words for as long as it takes, that those words no longer bother you while you hear them, right? Or while you read them, okay? So, for example, if I got really upset with this, the plan would be play it again, right? And listen to it again and figure out what it is that's upsetting you and fix that part. Find out what it is. listen to this kind of like talk about yourself until it doesn't affect you, right? So when I was in Boit, when I referenced Boit, I got good at being in side chats. And as well, there was another girl that I used to hang out with, and there'd always be people saying hateful things about the people in her chat, always. And it, in a way, like as crazy as it sounds, it really helped me learn, right? No, I'm not getting angry and emotional about it. No, I'm in charge of me, not your words. Me, I am. And I'm deciding I'm not having a reaction to it. It helped me with the mental agility, all right? So our mental agility, we need to build it up. If we've started from a place of not having it or not utilizing it, right? Or not being more of a thinker, if we're more emotional, we need to switch those faulty programs that don't work for us anymore. They don't work. They're not helpful. It's not a helpful coping skill to have a huge emotional reaction anytime somebody says something. Conquer it. Conquer the trigger, and you conquer the people talking about you. It's the lower frequency bullshit that we don't entertain, okay? We don't entertain. If somebody comes with you, okay, and even criticism, you don't have to accept some criticism, okay? Because some people will give you criticism and it will just be bullshit, or it'll be just useless, right? It'll just be useless information that doesn't help you or anything, okay? You have to get good at deciphering the bullshit from criticism that's beneficial to you in some way. Wisdom, it's got wisdom within it. It's knowledgeable. It's insightful, okay? This wishy-washy stuff, okay? We're not going to engage it. We're not going to take it on board. It doesn't matter. It's nothing. I'm not saying they're nothing, right? Okay, because we're pretending they're not. We don't know them. They're strangers. And this is an example. But it's nothing what these people are saying. It's nothing, all right? When I look at my children, or I take my dog out, or I'm going to meet friends, or I go to a coffee, going to work, or doing whatever it is I'm doing, this shit on here is nowhere in my head, all right? This is for me to socialise. I like to socialise on here. I like to get out the stuff that's in my head that I've been thinking about on here, or that I've learned, or that I've put together, or that I've just come to know it, right? To share it, spout it out, talk about it, discuss it. Look, I'm shocked anytime there's even 3 likes on one of my posts with the things I think about and the way my brain works, all right? So, but this kind of stuff, yeah, we want to have this kind of reaction to it, okay? A calm reaction, logical. This is pointless. They're not saying anything nice, right? They're not saying anything that's going to be helpful. They're saying it to make themselves feel better because I've said something that's bothered them, okay? It's not for any other reason. So that kind of shit we don't pick up, okay? We never pick it up. It's pointless. It doesn't help you. It's just meant to cause you self-doubt, have you second-guessed yourself. Like when people say lies and stuff like that, it's just to fuck with your mind, basically. And the passive aggression, don't pick it up. Leave it where it is. That's theirs. They're a separate, entirely independent and autonomous entity over there that has their own rights. They're allowed to think what they want. They're allowed to say what they want, okay? And if I know that they're going to be saying things about me, in some ways, right, obviously, it's better that I don't go over and listen, okay? Especially if I've not worked through that trigger thoroughly yet. If I'm still in the process of working through it, then maybe avoiding places where you know you're going to be talked about would be better. But at some point, sitting with the words said about you and listening to them until they don't bother you anymore, right? It's like, what's it called? Oh my God, what's it called? There's a thing, it's a therapy. And do you know, like with horrible things like spiders, they put the spider on you kind of thing and make you have the therapy that way. So it's literally you handling your fear, and you have to keep it there until you can get control of your mind to remain comfortable and override the triggered response. It's got a name, it's called something. Please share it in the comments if you're listening to this and get this far. Oh, what's it called? I can't remember. So moving on. All right. So I think I've touched on this enough. I hope I've covered everything that I wish I'd covered in the first one, more or less. So you're all right to be hurt. It's fine to be upset. Manage it, validate it, process it. Okay. And improve this internal dialogue that this kind of thing that people are saying, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All right. It doesn't matter. And the good people, don't worry about the people that believe it, all right? Because if they were critical and objective people, they'd be observing the situation and seeing what the other side's doing and being critical upon that, rather than rushing in to just join in the drama of dragging you, okay? Those types of people you don't want on your team anyway. You don't want them on your team. And in a way, the narcissistic behaviour and the toxicity, or whatever it is that's going on, the people that are around that and they're saying it too, or they're egging it on about you, okay, they don't matter. Period. They don't matter. Focus on what does matter. And they are the people that are around you, that care about you, respect you, and would never treat you that way. All right? So we do have to stop focusing so much on them, and every time they come into our minds, what are they doing? If they said something today, I wonder, really override that and bring it back to yourself. I need to go to the store, I need to make a list, what we're having for dinner, what time's that show on, do something, even if it's something as stupid as just getting your bloody Switch out and playing Mario. Do something to interrupt the thought of thinking about the toxic people talking about you, okay? A good 3 months, 3 to 4 months, full non-engagement, and you've been working internally on yourself as well, right, to correct these, I don't know, faulty thinking ideas or thought processes, and you're becoming more enlightened about yourself, learning to notice whether you're in an observant state of mind, whether you're becoming emotional. Like emotional reactions, I'm not saying that emotional reactions are bad, all right? For me, what I tend to do is, now I've noticed, because I was really emotional, right? I was like, or I felt like I was hypersensitive, but I didn't have any coping skills, and all the wounds that I have emotionally, I wore them on the outside of my skin, if you will. So when people would say, I can't even think of something, but I'll make something up, right? If someone would said, oh, you're an evil bitch walking away from your mum, that would sting me and affect me in a big way. But I had no coping skill internally to manage what that person was saying. All I knew how to do was react and be upset, and almost not make myself a victim, but when I reflect, like, I think I could have been more self-empowered, and I was stronger than what I thought I was, if that makes sense. So again, my emotional reactions, right? Say like if my kid comes home from school and she says the teacher's been horrible or something really bad's happened, and I ring up school and I'm like calm, and then, you know, as I'm trying to explain this really bad thing that's happening, I'm having an emotional reaction, and the teacher's, I don't know, say the teacher's not giving me, not saying what I needed to say, you know, I'm going to go and speak to this other kid about what they did to your kid. Emotional reactions aren't wrong, right? But I know that I'm more prone to emotional reactions over things that don't need an emotional reaction. So for me, things like if my kid was hurt or something happened to someone, right, or one of us within the family, you know, pets included, stuff like that, if I myself had an accident, or if I heard bad news, or if I was going through a divorce, or there was a death, or I don't know, say somebody turned up that I didn't want here, or it was a shock or a fright, I'd have emotional reactions to those types of things. But what I choose not to do is have emotional reactions to the words said about me, because it's just a waste of time, an absolute waste of time. You put yourself through all that emotion, right? It fucks up your nervous system. You're all out of sync, okay, because you're upset, and then in the real world, it's not happening in the real world. All this shit's just happening when you pick this device up, okay? So for me, my rule is I am not having emotional reactions to these types of things. And this is what this drama community is, why it is toxic. Drama is toxic. I know we all like to watch it. I know we've all watched The Real Housewives of bloody New Jersey, good God. And, you know, other other reality shows where there's lots of drama and excitement going on and there's something popping off. So we watch it, all right? But we could be less toxic. We definitely always could be less toxic. And the way of the communication is the toxicity, because it's the screaming and the shouting and the emotional reactions and the trying to hurt people, the attempting to trigger people. I mean, what about that do you want to be a part of? What about that do you want to be a part of? Okay. So approaching it in a more calm or a healthier way, obviously, is healthier, right? It is healthier. I'm not saying don't like drama. I like to watch the drama. I'll observe it. I used to love, until I got wise to it, but I did used to enjoy the Real Housewives of whatever, because I'd be mind blown at all this extreme behaviour. I couldn't turn my eyes away. Okay, so I totally understand the watching it, or they're even becoming involved in it and not realising what you're becoming involved in. But ultimately, drama is toxic. It is not a healthy way to communicate with other human beings. Period. Okay? So I hope that wraps up the video. If you do have any more questions, or there's a point I've missed, or there's a point I've not made clear, whatever it is, you've got some insight to add to this, to build on this, to, I don't know, help this process become more simple, or simpler explained, right? I just hope I've explained it in a clear way. There is clarity here. You understand what I'm saying. And if not, just leave it below. Please leave me a like so it gets this damn video in the algorithm. I just want, I wish you could take the subscribers off your thing that don't watch, that aren't interested, because people just sub for whatever reason, and it's not about them watching. I just wish that I could just shift them all and just go back to 700, and then when I'm getting 200 and 300 views, and I know that the core people that do come around and chit chat and whatever, that the videos are going to the people that they need to go to. I don't care about the wider thing. Just having this discussion in this corner is enough for me, all right? It's enough. So if you could leave a like or a dislike, I'd really appreciate it, because it's so annoying. It is just so annoying. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, love lots and bye for now.